I'll record that now. Okay, so good afternoon, and it's good to hear that you're doing well. So let's start with any questions that you might have. Do you have any?
Hi, Mina.
Hi, Damaris.
I did have not a question per se, but maybe if you could give any tips or main points things to include to kind of boost our grade or help us get a better grade.
Okay. Have you looked on the Moodle site?
I have. I've seen the step, not like a step-by-step, but the handout that you put on Moodle, the Word document.
Yeah.
But I was wondering if there's just anything else that you would say, maybe that always gets forgotten, or something, like a few points that you would say to include or anything, or is that all on the Word document?
I think the Word document has quite a lot of detail. Let me share that, and then we can go through if it helps. Would that help everyone else? Is that something that you would like for me to do?
Yes.
Okay. So let me just try and share that document now. Can you see this? I can't see your faces, but I'm hoping that you can see the screen when I'm sharing it.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so that's Khadija. And Damaris, you can see this?
Yeah, I can see it. That's the one I was talking about.
Okay. I mean, I'll go through this in a moment. One thing to bear in mind is that your poster has really been a kind of rehearsal of making sure that you can spend time to do the background work for your Hi Shirley.
Hi, sorry I'm late, Mona.
Okay. Damaris just asked if there are any additional tips or points that we could share that could help boost students' grades. And while Damaris has looked at the Word document, I thought it might be an idea to just share that again, because we're recording the session, and maybe go over that, but also anything that we found when marking assignments that we think students could bear in mind. And my starting point was really to highlight the poster and how the poster is supposed to be a kind of a warm-up to, or rehearsal ground, if you like, to preparing your background work on your setting, and to think about what are the things that your setting will bring out in terms of areas that you might be looking to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so something that I think we can do maybe is just quickly go through this handout, and then Shirley and I can also share what we found with past students' assignments, that why they haven't done as well. Does that seem okay?
Okay.
Right. So our students are they're hidden. They're not showing their faces, but we've got them there. So that's
they're in their pajamas, I take it.
Maybe. I haven't heard from Jonna, but I'm seeing she's there, so I'm hoping that she can hear us.
Okay.
So just to excellent. So it's a reflective piece, and that is going to suggest that you're writing based on what you've already seen and observed, and how you've given yourself some time, as reflections suggest, to think carefully about some of the implications of what you've seen and how you might make the links to literature. And then again, having carried out your research of literature, what you've sort of taken away from your note-taking of your observations and your thoughts about what you've seen, and then what it could mean in terms of what the literature sort of has explained. And that's really the sort of process, as we were discussing previously in another session, that it shows your ability to not just sort of take things at face value and be able to draw out what's significant in terms of analyzing the observations that you've carried out with respect to your knowledge and understanding of areas within the literature. Okay, so that's very broad, but it does apply to everybody. Okay, so I suggested the following format, and it is as it suggests, generic. So, but everyone will need to sort of have those components in there, and that's where the poster will really help you. So, introducing the placement. Think about your posters and what you've done for your posters. The sort of demographics, the context, what kind of students or pupils are there, you know, the ratio of adults to children even, you know, that might be, if it's a small setting or a much larger setting, there may well be implications for what you observe. So, you know, and how you might interpret your observations. So you can put in subheadings. It would be, I think it's probably helpful for students to do that, because then it makes clear that what you're actually doing is introducing an area that you're going to really give much more detail about, and it's going to be informed by your observations and your understanding of the literature. And then you're trying to synthesize all of that by drawing out some further meaning, in trying to see what other ways or what you can understand from what you've seen on placement. So the subheading there is really to try and make it explicit. And what we have asked is for you to have a title, and the title is there not just for presentation to make it look, you know, clear and neat, but it's also to help you as well as the reader to see the structure of what you're going to write in that middle section. So the title helps you to narrow down your focus, not to write on a topic that's so broad that then you find that you haven't got the space, because it needs to be concise. And if you have too broad a topic, you'll find that you will need much more space to write about what you want to say. So the more narrow the focus topic's title, the better. And that will put you in good stead for your dissertation for next year. Now, all of what you're doing on the degree program is preparation all along, is building up your knowledge and your understanding and your skills. So you can see this as a process of helping you towards year 3 and thinking about why it is when we tell you later, or even in research methods, you know, when you're thinking about research proposals, that you need to have a clear idea and to have a focus that gives you a structure, basically. So I think this is a good way to make good the practice, as it were. And think of your title, as we spoke the other day, last week, that, you know, if you have an idea of what you want to talk about, say it's special educational needs, that's fine. But what specifically have you observed that has prompted you to want to write about that? And if you use your observations to help you in structuring the title, you'll find you can narrow down the focus. Is that right, Khadija?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because we had that conversation, and I'm hoping that you found that was helpful. So if you ask yourself, how can I narrow this down? And I'm dwelling on this a little bit because I think this is an area to answer Damaris's questions. How can we improve our marks? This is an area that you can spend some time on in your planning and think carefully about what it is you're going to focus on and how you're going to structure that so that you can get everything that you need into that middle section. And so the title helps you. If you use your observations, it helps you to narrow it down. So what specifically about the area do you want to talk about? What are the observations that you're going to use that inform that, and then that will help you with how the literature will support your observations and then what you make out of that. And you need to have space in that middle section to have some views and comments that you can draw from your understanding of the literature and your observations. That's where the analysis comes in, right? So that subheading and that title is important. And I think where it says information about your title that's helpful to structure is what I've been trying to explain just now. And I think then I'm just trying to quickly read what I've written here so I can just make sure I don't miss anything. Yes, so there's a reasonable balance required. So within the content, this is something that students do trip over, and that is if you've not left enough time to really work through your observations that you want to include and the literature that you're going to use to support, you won't, you might fall short of having the right balance. And what I mean by that is sometimes students write a lot about what they've seen and then don't include much about their reading of literature that would help to draw out further meaning and interpretations of what they've seen in an informed way. It's one thing to say, I've seen this and this was really interesting, or that was quite difficult to support, you know, what I saw was very difficult to support that particular child in this setting of a lesson that was going on, for example. So what we're trying to ask you to do is leave time so that you can have enough material to know that you have got the right observations and suitable and relevant literature that can help to give the right balance. So you don't want everything about the literature and very little about your observations, because then that becomes an essay. If we are in keeping with special needs, it's an essay on special needs, right? And we want you to inform your piece with your observations. And on the flip side, if students are going to only write predominantly about what they've seen and not include much from the literature, it becomes quite descriptive. And it isn't academic in its written in the written piece. So that's important. In that main section in the middle, you want to be able to have a kind of an essay type format. So you'll introduce your focus topic, then you'll have things that you want to discuss and think back on what I've just said about observations that you want to use and relevant literature. And then at the end of that section in the middle, you want to make it cohere, and that means you have a concluding part to that section. Now that's very relevant, because when you are writing a project or something that is trying to encapsulate a project of this sort, then you want to look at what it is that you're doing in a way that you're theming things, and this is very relevant to next year as well. So have this in the back of your mind, that everything you're doing is helping you to get even better in your preparations for year 3. Okay, so what I mean by that is, if you think that the middle section is a chapter of a book, okay, and that chapter needs an introduction, it needs a main body, and it needs a concluding part as well. I hope that's clear, because that will be very relevant for you when you're thinking about dissertation for next year, all right? I'm not so subtle. I'm sort of trying to give you the incentive to try and have hooks to remember things by. And I'm hoping it works and helps. So then that leads you to the final section of this reflective piece, and that is your general conclusion, where you're writing about the experience as a whole. And you can go back to your introduction, where you may have written something about what you were looking forward to see, or anticipations about the placement setting, and then retrospectively, what you feel you have really taken away from the experience, and what are the key points that are memorable, or points that you feel were important to shaping your understanding and knowledge about practice, about education practice, or teaching and learning, right? So that's what I would say about the expectation of what we hope you're going to put into the body of your reflective journal. It's an academic piece of writing. There has to be structure. There has to be content that's relevant. And you need to shine your ability to sort of to be able to draw out from the information that you've gathered and your experience from what you've encountered on your placement, and get some nuggets, if you like, that you can really spotlight and discuss in detail, in as much detail, to show that you've really thought about what you've seen, and that you have spent time drawing on the literature to help reflect on this in a very academic way. Okay, so that's, and then I suppose really there's some study skill type things that are added on at the end, which I think I don't need to read or go over, but hopefully you have done that and reminded yourself of spending time to proofread your work. That's another thing that I think sometimes students inadvertently let themselves down because they make errors by not proofreading their work. And oftentimes, don't know about you, Shirley, I think, you know, you write in the comments, you know, that if had they proofread their work, they could have avoided some of the errors that they have made.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, students, there are different ways of doing that. Try reading your work out loud, reading it to someone else. Don't forget Studiosity can give you feedback on your work. They're not going to correct it, but they can point out areas that need attention. So there are all sorts of ways of doing it, but it, as Mona says, it is really important.
Yes, thank you, Shirley. No, it's absolutely, and Studiosity's proven to be really helpful. Lots of students have been using it, and it's another way of checking your work and going back to it and reviewing it to make it even better. So yeah, I agree with that. Is that helpful, Damaris? Shall I unmute you? Can I unmute you to?
Hi, Mina. Yeah, that's really useful.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. So Gemini, is it Gemini?
Gemini.
Jamini, I do get it each time, don't I? Sorry, Jamini. How are you? You've just joined us.
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Good to see you here in the session. We've just gone over the document that I'm sharing here. Hopefully you can see it, and it's being recorded. So if you've missed anything, then when I upload it, have a listen back,
Okay,
and then drop me an email if that would help.
I will do.
Okay. Are there any questions that you have, anyone? Vivian, are you okay?
Yes, I'm still okay.
Good.
Yeah.
So the question about how can we improve, I think if you really look over this document and then go to your notes, look on your portfolios, what you've recorded, use your posters to help you in terms of the information that you've gathered about your setting. And remember that you need those key things like any assignment does. You need your references. You need each section to have references like your introduction and the general conclusion. And there are texts that are available online as well that you can use to inform you yourselves and to include into your assignments. Okay?
Yes.
All right. So is there anything else that would be helpful for you, given that this is the last week formally of teaching? I think it'd be good to know if there's anything that we can include in this session that would be helpful.
Hi, Mina.
Hi.
I just had one more question about the the pseudonyms for our placements. How do we write that into the essay? Would we just write the pseudonym and then put in brackets that we're not going to reveal the name, or is it an asterisk at the reference point?
Yeah. Well, in your introduction, you will be saying something about how you are, for ethical reasons, keep maintaining the anonymity of your placement setting.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
for this reason, you have given it the pseudonym of whatever it is. Does that help?
Yeah, I was just wondering if we could put that in the beginning, or whether we would have to just put it at the bottom in the reference. But I guess we do both.
It would be helpful to put it in the beginning, because then when you're referring to it further on, then you can just use that, because you've already said that that's what you're going to do. And then in your reference, you can put, is it a school where you're at?
Yeah, it's a school. Yeah.
Okay, so then you would just put the school, because presumably you want to use some of the information that they have on their websites. Most people have done that.
Oh, okay. So I can put the school website in the reference.
You can, and you can either, I'm just trying to, while we're speaking, look for samples that I can show you, and maybe that would help. So let's see if I get you this one. Right, I do want to make sure that I don't have the person's name. All right, so what I'll do is I'll stop sharing this one, and I will share another screen with you. I think it's that one, yes. Okay, can you see the, oops, excuse me, technology is not really my forte always. Are you still seeing the assignment screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Or can you see introduction to placement setting?
We see introduction to placement setting.
Fantastic. Okay, so you see that the first sentence this student has written is, I will be using the pseudonym, little stars, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Damaris, can you see
that
how
makes
the
sense.
student has set it out?
Yeah.
And then she has gone on to put in brackets, school website, and then an asterisk there, and again, school website where she's referred to it.
Okay.
Okay. Does that help?
What that student does in the reference list at the end, she puts the little star and she puts for ethical reasons.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the way to link it to your reference.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was wondering.
There you go.
Yeah,
Look.
you can see at the bottom.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That's because last year when we did this, we did advise students to do that. So I think that's worth highlighting. So thank you for your question, Damaris.
Okay, great.
Very
Thank
helpful
you.
for a lot of students to have that. Okay, so then that's listed in your references. And you can see she's got quite a few references, right? Oops, there we go, some more down there, right? Is that helpful?
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you.
So if you are thinking of how many references should I include relevant references, but you can there's potential to have quite a lot. It depends on how you shaped and structured your piece. And you can see here she's put subheadings, concluding reflections about placement experience. And then let's see if I scroll back up. Focus topic discussion. Look at that. She's got a title. And she's been quite focused. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Helpful? And this particular student got a first. So, right? So that's something to think about. And I think really, Damaris, going back to your question, how can we improve our marks, It's spending, I'll stop sharing for the moment, is to spend time to carefully structure things and to make sure that you've got your references, your observations that you want to use, and mapping them across, and making sure that you've left space to include your analysis of what you've seen and what you understand. So you're mapping in more ways than just linking it across and attaching a reference to what you've seen, but you're also trying to make further links in your own mind about how you could take that further and what that could suggest for practice in terms of what the literature says and what you've seen. How does that make you think about, you know, the realistic implications for implementing ideas and strategies for teaching and learning? And that applies not just to the classroom, of course. So if you're not in a typical mainstream school setting, it could apply to other settings as well. It's good to see that, your note, Jonna, that you can hear us. So thank you for writing that. Okay. Any other questions? Do we feel confident now to take that step forward and think about observations and our reflective journal?
Yes.
Well, that's good to hear. Okay, that's very good. Remember what has been put up on Moodle. I got an email from one student yesterday, and clearly there is an awful lot of information, but there have been some contingency plans put in place so that if you haven't completed your placement, that contingency plan is there to support you. So you can complete the placement once your setting opens, but you can also pass on the module on the basis of your assignments that you've submitted, so that it won't affect your progression, but you will need to complete the placement in your own time. That's the only proviso, okay? I'm not sure if that applies to anyone in this session, but if I've said that now and it's recorded, hopefully, then if it doesn't apply to you, that others who are listening will also bear that in mind and go back to Moodle and try to make sense of all the information that's been uploaded and all the other emails that the university have been sending of all the students. Is there anything that's unclear about this module, or sort of thinking more widely about information that has come to you from the university that you want to ask? Gosh, everyone's quiet. I take that you're okay.
I had a quick question.
Okay, Khadija, go ahead.
When will we select 30 modules, and would it be done online?
Okay, so I sent something out, I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before. That's one of the problems of being in the virtual world. You lose sight of what day of the week it is sometimes. But I did send out a message about the Spotlight event, and there are dates there that I've listed about when Allocator is open to students, and you will make your selection online, Khadija. So there's a window of time, and it's from May to June. The dates are there on the email. Okay, thank you very much. From the 20th to June, I think it was, I haven't got it in front of me, that's my problem right now. But
I should know. It's the 19th of June.
Thank you very much, Shirley. You're quicker than I am. I'm just,
No, not really.
can't find my email. But so I have sent email out, and it's from the 20th of May to the 19th of June. So in that window of time, you need to go onto the system, which is called Allocator, and you'll get an email, you'll get the information from academic services when it's all live, and you can go on and make your selections. Now in the Spotlight event, we will be having an opportunity for you to put some questions. I'm going to write another email to students. Not that I want to bombard you with emails, but just to have any questions that you have in mind ready in advance of that meeting. Shirley is head of year 3, so she has slides about modules for next year that all the module conveners have put together with a little audio clip that's attached, and that information will go up onto Moodle for you to have a look through. And you can also write to module conveners with any queries that you have. So there are 3 things to bear in mind and look out for, or possibly 4. Firstly, Moodle slides will be available in your year 2 section on the program site for Moodle. The Spotlight event, the opportunity to write to module conveners with queries that you have, and then Allocator itself, making sure that you're clear how to go onto Allocator, make your selection, and leave any notes for Shirley or the academics office if you've encountered any difficulties. It's possible. Allocator allows for you to leave a note next to a module, and if a module is full, for example, you might want to leave a note on there. If a module fills up, you'll be put on a waiting list if that's the case.
But can students not worry about not getting their choices, because the modules run in both semesters? So, you know, there is a lot of opportunity to take the subjects that you want.
That's right. And I think and Shirley's absolutely right, because what we have done is run modules twice, because we know that students are going to want to be mindful of how they balance the choices that they make, so they don't have everything in one semester and then feel overwhelmed with the workload that they've created for themselves. So what Shirley does as head of year 3 also is go through those choices and make recommendations to you if she sees that a student has put, for example, 4 modules in one semester, you know, and then that sort of means that you've actually created an awful lot of work for yourself and a very heavy timetable. Does that help, Khadija?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Good question. Thank you for your question. Any final comments or questions that you have about this module or anything else? Wow. Okay. Well, that's positive, I hope. I take that as a positive. You're very welcome, Jonna. Thank you for your message.
Yeah, you take care too.
Yeah, take care. And do look on the library website. I noticed from one student yesterday in a Zoom meeting, they hadn't been aware that the library has been updating lots of resources on their website. I hope that you've been checking, because in this period there's a lot of links and sites that have been made available for free, and so you do please check the library site. And also the AA team have done a massive sort of made a massive effort to support students with online sessions. So if you think that you need some additional help, please go and check on the library portal and see what is available. And if you have got queries, you can write to the library and ask about resources that you are having difficulty accessing, should that be the case. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, well, it's good to, I don't want to sort of draw out the meeting any longer than you need, and I wish you every success with your assignments. You've got a very unique situation here, but provided you keep safe and well, there is a lot of support there, and that has been put on as a contingency, and also additional resources to make sure that you're able to to progress into year 3. So all you have to do is do your bit and try to do your best, submit all your work, and then let us do the rest to try and help you through to year 3. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, bye everybody.
All right. Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Moona and Shirley. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Bye.